to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blosdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. Of course, I am your host, Christine Blosdale, and I'm very, very happy that you tuned in today because we have a very special program with a dear friend of mine who is, I call her the self-publishing guru or goddess, and her name is Deborah S. Nelson, and Deborah S. Nelson has published her own books, 22 of them, correct?
22. No.
22 books, but more importantly, Deborah has been able to help people who are not authors, people who are just regular folk, moms, dads, entrepreneurs, people with small businesses, has helped them actually publish their books, self-write and publish their own books.
Right.
And how many people would you say that you've helped do
I'm
this?
saying like somewhere around 130.
Wow.
Now.
Wow. So welcome to Out of the Box,
Thank
Deborah
you.
S. Nelson.
I'm so excited to be Out of the Box.
I am happy to have you here because this show is all about, it's transforming our lives. And if that means through health, through wealth, through love, whatever aspect that we are looking for, we're seeking, or that we need in our lives. And one thing I've noticed is that there's this explosion of entrepreneurial spirit happening all around the globe, and people are saying, you know what, I'm really tired of my 9-to-5 job.
Oh.
I'm miserable there. Right. I'm not appreciated, or I don't make enough money. I'm underemployed. I'm unemployed, or they just have no passion left. When they go on Monday, Monday morning everybody's dreading it, right? But what I want to offer in these series of programs is not only hope and inspiration for people that they can actually go after their dreams, but tools, real, applicable, easy, and affordable tools for people so that they can take the next step to become that successful person that they have always dreamt of being. And that's why it's so important that you're on this program today.
Fabulous.
Because I know you've helped a dear friend of ours, Julia Loggins.
Yes.
Tell the listeners, if you don't mind, who Julia Loggins is.
Well, Julia Loggins is the premier digestive health expert definitely in the California area, but fastly growing in the nation now. And she has just helped so many people get their life back, get their guts back. And I helped her write her first book about 8-9 years ago called Dare to Detoxify. And the second book, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, It Takes Guts to Be Happy.
Great title.
Yeah. Well, we came up with that because the serotonin, like 90% of serotonin is actually made in the gut, which is the happy gut hormone.
Wow.
So we kind of connected all those things together. And it does take guts to be really, dig in and find out about what you can do to take responsibility for your health.
Yes.
And Julia has identified the gut as one of the most important places where your health starts. That's where the immune system is. That's where
everything is.
Serotonin is, and it's kind of your second brain. I've learned a lot from her after helping her write and publish those 2 books.
And the books now, when we say self-publishing, most people, when we say, hey, we want to help you, or I want to have Deborah S. Nelson help our listeners become authors. the importance of having your own book is, I mean, there's so many reasons, right?
Yes. Oh.
Just go through a few of them, why it's important to have a book.
Well, I'm just going to say right here and now, just going back to your introduction, the number one reason I think to have your own book published is self-confidence. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like being a published author that brings up your self-confidence in an authentic way. Your friends, your family, your peer, your business associates, they all see you in a whole new way. It's like getting a whole new life almost. It just really adds to your reputation as well as your self-confidence and your brand.
Yes.
It's super important. That's number one.
And when we talk about self-publishing, because like most people, they go, okay, Christine, Deborah, I smell what you're cooking. I understand that you're, it's important to get this, to write a book, but they think immediately, look, I'm not a writer.
Right.
I'm not, William Shakespeare or, you name any author, J.K. Rowling. I'm not that. But that's not necessary, is it? It's
no, here's the thing. We all have some kind of skill or talent, or we all have some kind of wisdom or story to share. And now that we have print on demand, we have democracy in publishing. That means, the publishing companies and the big corporations, they don't just own that corner of the market anymore. So usually they tend to pick celebrity type people or people with, PhDs and, extremely knowledgeable and educated and plugged into sort of, the higher levels of things. But there's those of us who have some incredible knowledge and that we need to share specifically to a specific group of people. And that we never would see the light of a day in one of those big publishing companies. So,
well, and especially if you're someone who's experienced adversity, tragedy, an accident, an illness,
right.
And you have come through, and what you've experienced can help so many people, not only so they don't feel alone in their struggle, but also to give them hope. And I think that is probably one of the most amazing things, that when someone writes their story, other than like a self-help kind of book, but when you're able to tell your story and others can say, oh my gosh, wow, she went through breast cancer like I am, and she made it through. That is powerful.
It is. And that's kind of really, there was what happened with Julia. I mean, Julia, they didn't think she was going to make it till she was 17 because she had all these allergies. And they kept treating her with a lot of really crazy medication. And I think that might have, probably made it worse. Perhaps, yeah. But she almost died about 3 times. So she's gone through some incredible struggles with, with her food, with her diet, with her health, with her gut. And so that's why she has so much to share, because she actually went through it herself.
Yes.
It's not just book reading or knowledge or something like that. She actually experienced it.
And the bypassing the big publishers and doing the self-publishing, even doing the self-publishing route, can be a little overwhelming, because people are like, what do I do? Where do I start? And do I have to write some 400-page novel in order to become a published author? Do they have to have some very large amount of time that they put aside to write their own book, or do they have to write a certain amount of pages?
No, not really. As a matter of fact, anybody that's blogging, they probably already have their material with them.
If they do blogs, if they write blogs, right?
Yes. So anybody that's doing blogs, they probably have, or even broadcasts like you, Christina.
Interviews, correct.
Those can be transformed into a Word documents and then transformed into the digital file that we need to do the print on demand. So it's actually not as difficult as most of us think it is on the surface of it. Basically, it's been said, don't die with your music inside of you. Yeah. I say, don't die with your story still inside of you. So most of us have some kind of story or wisdom or knowledge or experience, or if we're a small entrepreneur or even a big entrepreneur. I just did 2 books for a CEO of a large company here in the United States. One was a vision plan. It was 90 pages. So it's like it laid out the whole vision plan of where he wants to take his company in the next year. And then what we did was we tweaked that, and we actually turned it into a marketing piece. We put a different cover on it. We kind of rewrote some of the things. So now he has a 90-page story about his company, where his company is going, that he can use, in his networking or in
with marketing.
With his marketing, with his partnerships that he's trying to develop, strategic partnerships.
And for someone who is, let's just say they are an entrepreneur in whatever field. I mean, it could be financial, it could be real estate, it could be physical fitness.
Right.
It could be with weight, dealing with weight, dealing with, again, like we were talking about, overcoming tragedy or obstacles that we have, adversity, all of those things. What's the first thing that someone would need to do in order to embark on writing their own book?
Well, I like to start way in the beginning. I like to plow up the ground, the earth. A lot of people just really do not feel they have the confidence to do it. And I totally understand that because of the whole culture surrounding the publishing industry and the scholarly thing and the famous people thing. So you kind of try to compare yourself to that. So what we do is on my website, I have a free tool that helps people get to that first step, and it's called 10 Days to Busting Negative Thought Habits.
I love it.
And I actually give that out for free.
Great.
So it's really important that you plow up and the soil of your heart and your soul and prepare yourself so that you're not faced with a bunch of negative thoughts like, how dare you think that you're enough of an authority to write about that, or how dare you think that you have the ability to be an author. We just have so many cultural biases against like normal people writing a book.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest obstacle for most
it is.
people, because they put themselves in a category of like, well, who will listen to me? Who would buy my book?
Well,
But you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, and we don't all have to be bestsellers.
Right.
We don't all have to be on the NBA. I have a lot of friends a friend that has a basketball team. It's a professional basketball team. There's a lot of professional basketball teams where the guys play worldwide. They're not NBA level, but the guys make maybe $75,000 or $100,000 a year. It's they doing what they love. So we don't all have to be the bestseller. So we can find our little niche. And we can, build our fan club easily with Instagram and Facebook and such. And the people that are really interested in your knowledge and your expertise and experience, they're going to come there. They're going to find you. And you can reach out to them with a book or with a Kindle book. I help people publish to Amazon. I help people publish to Kindle, ebooks. And the most important thing is to begin to develop the confidence and overcome the negative mindset and begin to gather your materials together, your knowledge together. You
just touched on something that I think is really important for people to realize, because with our limiting thoughts, we think, okay, first of all, who am I to write a book? Oh, okay, we're gonna crush that. Deborah S. Nelson is gonna help crush that for you, because there is, whoever you are, and we're gonna get an example, because I know of you told me recently about 2 young men who will crush that complete idea.
Exactly.
But also it's not just a physical, like let's say a paperback, even if it's a small one, like 90 or 100 pages, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. It's not just that physical book. You're talking about people have the ability to get the book out and to start raising some money, start generating some income, not only from the actual physical paperback book, but there's other avenues that the same exact thing that you wrote has multiple streams of income.
Exactly.
And tell our listeners about that, because you mentioned one thing, Kindle.
Yes.
So you can take what you wrote and make it in Kindle format?
Yes. And what I do is I actually give courses, I do private coaching, and there's all kinds of levels of what I do according to your level of your budget and your time. Some people don't have time, so they just kind of have me do the whole thing for them. But basically, we look at what you want to do. We can do audiobooks, we can do ebooks.
Audiobooks are awesome.
We did an audiobook for Julia, and it's so fabulous to hear her voice, explaining everything and reading her own book, because she has the great way to express it.
Yes.
But the point being, there's all different kinds of levels, and what I do is I just guide people, or all the way to just straight out do it for them. But in this process, you keep all of your royalties, and you keep all of your copyrights, because you're not going through a big publishing company, and they don't own you. Nobody owns you the way I do this, because I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a speaker, and that helps people to learn how to do it themselves. So I do focus on the do-it-yourself.
Yes.
Whether it's quote unquote a self-published book, the fact is you're going to become an independent publisher of your own book.
Exactly. And you said something very important there, and I don't want to skip over that. I want to come back. You keep your own royalty and copyright. So whatever money that you make off of your book, your audio book, your Kindle book, whatever other formats that it can be in, all that money doesn't have to be given over to a big publishing house, because we got advertising budget, we got this, we got marketing. By the time you get your check, it's like 12 cents.
Right.
But here's the important thing: you get to keep all that money that is made off of your work, which I think is absolutely brilliant and beautiful.
And here's the thing: that's why I was saying you don't have to be a bestseller. Because the whole big publishing industry, they have to push out volume, because the minimum amount of books they normally publish, and which I used to work for a publishing company, is maybe 20 or 25,000 books, just to make it scalable, just to make it profitable, because it costs so much money to set up the initial book. But with print on demand, we have efficiency, we have democracy in publishing. You can print literally one book. The cost is involved in setting up the initial file, but it's just a file. It's just an art file. It takes time, energy, knowledge to set that file up, and that's just your time, basically, and your knowledge. Right. It's not like $50,000 or $100,000 just to set up the first book.
And when people have someone like you guiding them through this whole process and assisting them along the way, but giving them all the tools. I mean, we have I know there's something that you wanted to offer our listeners, and we're going to tell them about that in just a second. But the beautiful thing about self-publishing and going through you, Deborah S. Nelson, is that it's literally, it's like having your own coach, but it's like having somebody hold your hand and walk you through the steps, so that then the next time you want it, because many of us have more than just one book, and that's the other thing.
Oh, right.
People go, oh my gosh, maybe I could write a book one day. Honey, you have within you absolutely so many books, and I try to explain this and express this in such a way that people really get it. If you are someone, let's say you, whatever field it is that you're in, you've been doing it for quite a while, you have a very unique perception and perspective in that field of work.
You do.
So right there is a book just on that, Yeah. Then if you have someone who's even, a stay-at-home mom, but you've been able to make $50 stretch, really far and still have something, healthy. So you have a book right there on how to feed your family on $50 a week or whatever, and still maintain something healthy. that's a book.
Right.
If you've overcome a bitter divorce and yet you still are able to look at the world in a beautiful way and be open to love and have still even respect for that person if they are the parent of your children, that's a book.
Right.
Every single thing that we go through in
Right.
life is a book, but there's many books that you can do. Just like there's many chapters in our lives, there's many books that people can do. And do you have people that work with you, that have you help them on this journey through
Yes.
self-publishing? Do you have many that just do the one book and then that's it, or are there some that are doing multiple books?
Right. It's about half and half.
Okay.
Some people just wanted to have that one experience, like the bucket list experience of writing a book and having a legacy to share with their grandchildren or something like that.
Yeah.
And other people, mostly the business people community, they've just gone on to write 2 and 3. I got one guy that's on his 5th book.
Wow.
Yeah. And he just really is an author.
Yeah.
You know, he's just an author. He's just a
Just
writer.
pours out of him.
And his writing has gone like leaps and bounds. And because I help people write, and I help them with some simple strategies for writing. That's the thing about those of us who know something. We might have spent 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years learning this one silly, simple thing. And you can tell somebody that in 5 minutes, and then they can just do it. So that's the beauty of being able to read books about things that you don't know anything about. Maybe I want to figure out how to plumb. You know, I want to do it yourself plumbing in a little cabin that I've got in the woods. Maybe I want to do that. And so maybe there's a plumber that could write some simple plumbing steps.
I want to learn how to change my own oil in my car.
Yeah.
And I've heard there's some wonderful female mechanics that are writing
Wouldn't that
books.
be fun?
Well, they're writing books for women to show them that it's not that hard. You know, here's what you do, and it's step by step.
And maybe they could tell us how not to get real dirty and greasy while we're doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
maybe guys don't care about that, but that's something we really would care about.
But there's so many different aspects that people can take on with this. And again, I still love that. I love the idea that whatever money you make, if you hit that, you hit that spot, and people really are crazy about you and your story and what you have to offer, and you are making sales, that money goes to you, and not the publishing house. I think that's really important.
And let me just quickly break that down. We can get like a 150-page book published on print on demand for somewhere around $3. So you can sell that book for about $20.
Boom.
Now, you don't need to be a bestseller, because you have to sell probably 500 books through a publishing house to get your 25% royalty, compared to like speaking to an audience of 300, and maybe 100 of them go back and buy the book, and you make $15 or $20 on each book.
And you also said something really, really important. Speaking, when you have a book, when you're a published author, whatever subject matter that you're thinking in your head right now, listener, I know you're already thinking. You're like, you got this going. The wheels are turning. Whatever it is that you do, you are already perceived as an expert. So then you can go and, man, it blows the mind how many speaking engagements, how many events, colleges, universities, there's always some seminar going on. How many of them are always looking for speakers?
Yes.
I mean, I have a friend who's a comedian and made an insane living on just doing speaking. Would go, around the country to these universities and would do speaking. Now, when you have a book, there's your entry into the door right there, because you can send somebody, send an organization or a university, you can send them your book and say, hey, I'm available for speaking at your college. And that's also additional stream of income.
Yes, and it's really fun. But also another thing that's kind of related to that is what we did with Julia too, and some other of my clients, created online courses, created workshops and seminars, which is really, really another great income stream. And it's wonderful because you're doing it in person sometimes or just live, even if it's online. And you get to really interact with the people and you learn even more about some of their questions and their struggles. And you can put that in the next book, or you can update the first book and really improve it greatly.
And so like on your own personal website too, you can offer the book, you can offer it as a paperback.
Yes.
It can be made available on Amazon with your assistance as well.
Right.
But then you have content.
Right.
So then if you wanted to have a membership only site, then you can have that material there. You wanted to have this in an audio format, which I do love so much. If you have it in an audio format, that's also content as well. And one idea, and I just think it's such a groovy idea. If you do like the smallest book, 90 pages about?
Oh, I mean, you could go down to 70 pages, 75 pages, but realize...
You want it for the spine.
Right. But also realize those pages, I mean, there's several different sizes and shapes of books, but you could make a small, tiny book, and those pages are equal to, like on the smallest book, like about a 5 by a 7 book.
Yeah.
Those pages are probably 3 of those pages just equal one typewritten word document type page.
Right. So something small like that, but you could offer that also if you wanted to, let's say, get subscribers. If you we're trying to get subscribers to your website, you offer this free book, and it can be a download version of the book.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to, it could actually be the physical book.
You can mail it out.
Right.
I mean, sometimes some of your clients are going to spend $100 or $500 or $1,000 with you. So if you mail the book out, that's $3 or $4 expense. And, say you mail that to 5 people and 1 or 2 of those people actually turn into clients.
Exactly.
It's not like you're throwing out business cards, you know.
No, because we were talking about that with Craig Duswalt, the rock star marketing genius that he is that, people will throw out a business card, but they will not throw out your book.
Right.
They can't. Exactly. It's like it's against all of nature to throw away a book.
And one thing you asked me in the beginning, what is the value of writing a book? And it's brought to mind what we're talking about now. The real deep, abiding value of writing a book is organizing your thoughts and your materials and your knowledge into one central place. So I've noticed that so many of my people that have written their books that are entrepreneurs, they've completely reorganized their website. They've completely reorganized now the peripheral things that they offer, like ebooks and audiobooks and courses and speaking engagements. All that material it's like the book is the nucleus, and all those other pieces of their brand start to cycle around that book, because now you've organized your thoughts and you know what you know. And it's by having to write a book and put chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 and organize it like that, you get so much more internal solidarity about what you know and how to speak about it, how to share it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I understand that completely. You know how I understand that? Because I've been doing broadcast journalism for like 16 years, entertainment journalism in general for 25. Okay. So I was writing, my thing was writing in the beginning of the internets with AOL, America
I remember
Online.
AOL.
Yeah, I had a daily column on there for some time. And so I wrote, obviously I wrote on the computers, and I was doing movie reviews, like critical movie reviews and celebrity interviews type things.
Okay.
So I'm used to that kind of expression, but then I went into radio, into broadcast journalism, which is not writing. It is creating. It is creating a story. It is guiding people down a path, right? And educating them on some things, or educating myself, and the listener just comes along. That's a very different kind of journalism, very different kind of expression than sitting there and writing it. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that for so long. Mm-hmm. But what I've just started to do on my own personal website, which is ChristineBlosdale.com, a little plug. What I've been doing on my website is I've just now begun, just recently, started to blog.
Okay.
And now it's coming down to the written, like I speak it in my mind still.
Yes.
But and it takes a lot of run through. Like I'll put it out, I'll write it all out, and then I'll go back and I'll edit and sweeten it, and I come back and I sweeten it. It's like making some cool sauce,
Right.
Come back and go, I used that word before,
Love it.
But it totally changes the way you perceive yourself as an expert, as someone, just doing a blog on the art of the interview, which is one of my recent blogs.
Oh, fun.
The art of the interview and this is for podcasters and radio hosts alike, people who want to get into broadcast journalism, or who want to become a podcaster, or already have a podcast show, and they want to just get a little tip or insight from my experience, and I'm just sharing it that way. But when you put it down, when you write it down, it really does solidify that for you, and then you can go on and do you can go out and teach that. You can do a speaking, you can speak on it, all of that. So it's just amazing when you write it down. What happens?
It organizes your thoughts.
It organizes your thoughts. Yeah. And then also,
Power of the pen.
But also, if it's just in your head, only you know about it.
Right.
Once you write it.
Yes.
Like with a blog or with a book, then other people get to access it. You're sharing your knowledge.
Yes, and it becomes more alive.
Yeah.
It becomes much more alive.
And so the one of the reasons too why I wanted you on the show, because this again is for the budding, for entrepreneurs, for business, for small business folk, for stay-at-home moms, for just anybody, for everybody actually, about the importance of getting our story out, and how easy. I want to reiterate how easy it is to write a book and to get it published.
Yes.
And when I say get it published, it's the self-publishing model that we're talking about.
Print on demand.
Yeah. So what why I wanted you to have you on too is because most people will go, this sounds great. I'm motivated. I can see it happening. I see my picture on the back of the book, Deborah. I know the title already. I know the color of the book. Okay, I know the chapters, all this stuff. But they're going to say, oh my gosh, here's the other daunting question. Where do I start?
Right.
How do I do this?
Right.
And that's why I have you on the show.
Right.
Because I've seen you in action. I've seen what you've done with Julia Loggins. We're talking about that with her book, It Takes Guts to Be Happy. Phenomenal, a beautiful book, phenomenal book. She's making some great sales on that book. But you offer people a wonderful, would you consider it a course or this package that you're going to offer our listeners? This is something that if somebody wants to get started, if they want to begin the process of writing a book, they can go through this with you, right?
Yes, I put this together just for this show.
Okay.
And it's for Christine's audience. And basically it's a do-it-yourself starter package. You're like putting your foot in the pool,
right?
You're testing the waters, but it's full of do-it-yourself resources. So basically, all of those resources are included: the self-publishing toolkit, the dictionary of self-publishing terms. I have a contract in there, which is an intent to publish contract. I mean, it's just a plethora of tools. And also I have another item that's to help you avoid the expense of hiring an editor. It's the 10 self-editing tips. And so that all goes on a USB. There's 3 books on there. There's The Newest Secret, which is the vision book, and The Newest Secret workbook, which helps you go through the process of getting up the self-confidence to publish like your first little kindergarten book.
Yes, yeah.
And then I also have the Publish Your Book Blueprint in 3 days. That could be 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months. You do it on your own timeline.
Yes.
So, but I do have an intensive that you can get it done in 3 days. But that helps you with all the pieces. You know, maybe you've already written a manuscript. You have to have the front matter and the back matter. You need the table of contents, the index, the foreword, the preface. In the front and in the back, you have resources and index and endnotes and footnotes. You don't necessarily have all that. But the book blueprint book it helps you to decide which of those pieces and how to put those pieces together and how they're supposed to be done.
Fantastic.
So that's in there too.
And so this is what you're offering the listeners this is from Deborah S. Nelson, and it is the do-it-yourself USB drive, right?
Yes.
It's the out-of-the-box do-it-yourself publishing package. Oh my goodness!
Yes.
So it's not just a USB drive; it is the out-of-the-box do-it-yourself publishing package. Now, this consists of all that content that you were talking about,
and more.
The books, right? All the guides, the personal contract saying making yourself accountable that you're going to actually do this book.
Right.
But it's on a USB drive.
Yes.
But it's on a very unique USB drive, right?
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about that.
Well, it's a pen. Okay, so when you're going to autograph your books,
Yeah.
you have book signs, right? And it also has a laser pointer. So like when you're doing speaking and you need to point to your PowerPoint presentation or whatever you're pointing to.
Or mess up with your cat on the wall. Just taunt your cat on the wall, right?
You can do that too.
So it's a pen,
and
then you pull apart the pen, and it's a USB drive, so you can put that into your laptop, your desktop.
We have almost 2 gigabytes of material on there.
Is there also are the books or is there anything that is in audio format on the USB drive, or it's mostly like PDF files?
It's all mostly PDF files, including the books. Mm-hmm. We have three full books that are like 140 pages and 150 pages and 260 pages in there as well.
Now, okay, so this is a do-it-yourself publishing package, and it has comes with the USB drive. But this package is very, very unique because you're also offering something like unheard of here. Tell the listeners that it's two coaching sessions with you.
Yes, 2 coaching, because I realize this is a lot of do-it-yourself material, and you might get stuck on 1 or 2 things, or maybe 4 or 5 things. So I don't want you to get stuck on 1 thing and then give up, or 2 things and give up.
You don't want them to give up.
There might be some kind of sticking point where you just don't get it, or maybe the language or the terminology isn't something that you quite understand. It all depends on your level of technical expertise, computers, and whatnot. So my sessions are an hour and a half long, and I am giving 2 of those. So you might want to get the USB, read all the material,
go through it, and then where you have any kind of questions, so folks who get the package, they can just go through all the material on the USB drive at their leisure. Whenever after work, instead of work, on the weekends. But then they can, if they get stuck, they have, like 1.5 hours for one session is already a lot, but you're giving in this package 2 of those. So that's 3 hours with basically your own personal publishing coach, Deborah S. Nelson, who'll make herself available via, what is it, Skype?
Skype,
okay.
Usually.
And that is wonderful. So if you stumble, if you need help on anything, you can reach out to her. But here's what's really cool is if you're also able to and how I want to utilize this is once I get started and I have some things going, I would like to be able to get for feedback, because you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for how many years? How you been doing this?
Now.
Yeah, and 22 books on your own, but also hundreds of other helping other people become authors.
Right.
Just regular folks becoming authors. I think my mind is just blown by that.
It's exhilarating.
It's fantastic. What a great what a great job you have.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would want to pass things over. I would say, what do you think about this? Right. So I can get like consulting from you on the project that I'm working on the book that I'm working on.
Yeah, you get an hour and a half consulting, coaching, however you want to use it. Questions. You might write down a lot of questions before you get on with me.
Yeah.
Because I do have a wealth of material. Besides having been publishing and writing for the past 10 years, I have a printing and a publishing and a marketing and a branding background for 20 years before that. So that comes into play with promoting your book as well.
And so with it's the out of the box, the do-it-yourself publishing package. They get the 2 1.5-hour coaching sessions with you.
Yes.
They get the USB drive that has everything that they need.
Yes.
Right? In it, so that they can actually create the book. And then when they're ready to have it printed and all that other stuff, can they also work with you as well on that process? I mean, because in other words, I want them to try and I don't want them to have to run around and get from this person. Can they just go through you for that whole process?
Well, they could. I'm obviously not there on an infinite basis for them.
Yeah.
But they could buy an advanced package if they just really can't finish it themselves. But a lot of people would be able to just watch. If you're under,
wow, really? So they can with this kind of package, they can actually do it themselves.
They could. If you're under, I would say for sure, if you're under 30, you're gonna just do it.
That's very cool.
Because there's enough information and enough steps and enough guidelines. If you're a little bit older, you might not be able to have the mindset to pick up on all that technical things involved with do-it-yourself publishing and print on demand. Right. So that's why I wanted to offer the 2 1.5-hour sessions. So some people might need to focus on all the technical details, and other people might want to have, some input about their writing style. I can give them some really good tips and pointers. I mean, just one tip, how to go through the whole book and get rid of, like, for example, do not start a sentence with "it is." So go through the whole book and clean up all the "it is" or the "there was"s, and that will improve your writing 50% already. Okay. I can tell them some things like that on the personal coaching call.
Brilliant.
And they can send some things over, and I can look at it and see, what would help them the most.
This is a really wonderful opportunity for people. Now, the do-it-yourself publishing package, I understand. Normally, it is how much is it normally? Oh, it's close to $800.
Yeah.
Normally for the USB drive with all the programs, all the courses, the
programs.
Books, all that stuff, right? All the separate books, and then of course the 2 1.5-hour sessions. That's 3 hours altogether.
Right.
Of consulting with you.
Right.
One-on-one.
Yes.
Private consulting with you. So that's close to $800. You wanted to offer it to the Out of the Box with Christine listeners for a very special price.
$397.
$397.
Basically half price.
Half price. So under $400 for really the blueprint and the beginnings and everything that you need to start your own, really your possibly your new career as an author, or even just as a side gig, side business, or expression of becoming a published author.
Yes, or upgrading your brand in your business, in your small business. Really important.
It is really important, isn't it?
It's super, super important. And to have people see you as an expert in your business, in your company, by having a published book.
So how do people get this deal?
Okay, so all they have to do is go to Deborah, DEBORAH S, Nelson.com /Christine. You can spell that.
That's really easy. It's CHRISTINE. So it's Deborah S. Nelson, and it's DEBORAHSNELSON.com /Christine.
Yes.
And where it's applicable, I'll put the link in on the show information, so people can go directly to that as well. So again, if people are interested, it's close to $1,000 value. and they're getting it for half that price.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible offer to our listeners. So it's so it's close to an $800.
Right. And so they're getting
close to
it
an
for
$800 value,
Right.
and they're getting it for under $400. So it's $397.
Right.
$397 for all those goodies, and that's amazing. That's very. Thank you
And
on behalf of the listeners.
just from applying yourself to all that information, you're going to create so much more value in your life. And in some cases, it's just absolutely priceless. If it builds up your self-confidence authentically, how much is that worth?
Exactly.
Because that affects every area of your life, from your business to your relationships.
Plus, it establishes
everything.
you. It does establishes you as an expert in whatever subject matter that you're talking about. It opens you up to being interviewed on podcast shows and radio shows, and some folks even television shows. It puts you into, and there is a really wonderful feeling about. I mean, I haven't experienced it yet, but I'm going to, because I'm going to be doing this exact thing. I'm going to be getting this do-it-yourself publishing package, but it gives you this wonderful feeling to say, I'm a published author. I'm actually a published author, and that that gift to the world that you're giving is going to touch people that you have no idea.
Yes.
You have no idea who they are, but it's going to impact someone. That's why I really love the books about overcoming the adversities that we have in life, and especially those people who are able to overcome hate, violence, abuse, and they've come through it, and they want to help others.
Right.
And so I really encourage people to, if this is a calling for you, I just hope that you do take advantage of this really cool offer. So it's DeborahSNelson.com/Christine. I'll give that to you, that link as well. And again, it's normally it's almost $800.
Right.
And you're offering it to our listeners for $397. So that's fantastic. Wow. Look at all of this stuff.
It's just challenge you to take yourself to the next level, and really, stretch yourself and reach out there and take advantage of print on demand and democracy in publishing.
And so there's on the USB drive, there's the self-publishing toolkit.
Yes.
Which is really important, right? Because this is the nitty-gritty. These are the things that is it somewhat like a checklist, or is it more like all the stuff that you need to consider in publishing your book?
Yes, it's broken down. Everything's broken down to different categories and steps. Like in the self-publishing toolkit, there's actually 7 videos in there that teach about what print on demand is, and kind of like the history of printing, so that you can really understand what you're getting into. And then there's a couple of those videos that talk about some of the statistics of self-publishing versus publishing, and give you an understanding of just the general field of publishing in general, and how self-publishing and how print demand fits in that. So there's 7 videos for that.
And there's also the textbook that's there, The Newest Secret, the textbook, and the workbook, which I love. So people can print from the USB drive, which is this cool pen. That it's a pen, but it's actually a USB drive. So you can sign your books with that pen when it's published. And there's a laser pointer as well. It's really a very, very cool little thing here. But the workbook they can print out and literally just go through. I love having the workbook along with the textbook, because then you can actually apply whatever project you're working on, whatever book that you're working on, you can write it out, you can get it out. And so it's super, super awesome.
The workbook teaches the 10 Dreams to Reality steps, and it teaches you how to overcome it helps you go through how to overcome your fear, how to drive your desires, how to stage your dream, so that by the time if you go through the notebook, you'll have a 20 or 30 vision page a vision book written already, and it teaches you how to do that. It's the simplest publishing venue out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that you make it easy for us. Thank you. Bless you. And also included in this package is the this is worth its weight in gold, the Power Resource Sheet.
Yes, that's just some of the different resources that I've used along the way and stumbled on or earned very difficultly.
Yeah.
Trial and error and stuff. So these aren't the errors. These are the good resources that you need to plug into.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we'll throw out the web address again, and we'll make sure that it's on anything that's linkable, the DEBORAHSNelson.com. It's Deborah with a DEBORAHS Nelson.com /Christine. I'm curious too. Well, so you have obviously the obvious folk who would want to publish their own book. So an entrepreneur,
right.
Someone who's a specialist in their field, whatever, maybe child psychology, or someone who is an expert in XYZ,
or midwifery or something,
or midwifery,
like that.
or
really cool
health
subjects.
or nutrition, right?
Right.
So those are the obvious ones. But this self-publishing, this package, also is great for someone who, even if they don't necessarily want to have the final book be published,
right?
But just to get their story out, and how therapeutic is that?
Right. And you mentioned this earlier. Anybody can pretty much do this. If you can read and write, if you can type on a keyboard, and if you have some passion and determination to get through all this do-it-yourself publishing materials, you can do this. I taught 2 young Haitian boys, only barely knew how to speak English, didn't know how to read and write English. Now, I have a 6-week course that I do this particular vision book course in, and it took me 3 months to teach it to them because I had to teach them how to read and write English along the way. But they published a beautiful vision book. And they were 15 and 16 years old.
Get out
of here. And the book is called Haiti Up, and their vision for Haiti. So
how beautiful is that?
Those 2 boys they're now in their 20s, and they both have so much better lives because they published a book and they created a vision, and they know how to do that now. They know how to make a vision and make the vision come real.
So they're published authors, these teenage boys from Haiti.
Yeah.
Wow. So if they can do it, we all can do it.
Yes.
Right?
There's
no
it's
excuse.
not that hard.
Yeah, it's not that. Well, no, it is hard. It's hard for us in our mindset. But when you have the tools, and when people can work with you, you make it easy. And that's the thing. You make it easy. Julia Loggins was not an author before.
No.
She was just someone who's very knowledgeable. And she had a really good business in Santa Barbara, seeing people one-on-one.
Yes.
But now she can help thousands, if not, eventually maybe millions of people through the book that was published in great part because you took her through those steps and you helped her self-publish that book.
Yes.
And all those sales, all the money she can keep, she could donate if she wants, she could do whatever she wants to it. But she's a published author because of the ease of this system, the do-it-yourself self-publishing system. So thank you for that.
Yes, very welcome.
I'm so stoked we get to offer it to our listeners as well. What would you say for folks who are listening right now and who they still have, they're like, okay, this sounds good. I think I can get started on writing my story or expressing myself or doing a, how-to book or a self-help book or something like that. What would you say to them if they still have some of those negative thoughts lingering?
Oh, you know what? You can go to DeborahSNelson.com and you can order it's called Busting Negative Thought Habits, and that's free, and you can just order that and go through that, and by the time you get through, that's a 10-part series. That should help. It should help a lot. It really should help.
What do you have for you, Deborah? Are you working on another book personally, or what are you working on?
Yes, I'm working on this book I've been working on for a really long time, and I guess it's been a little bit more difficult for me because it's been such a heart-wrenching experience. It's called "Oops, I Married a Con Artist."
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So I did, and the reason I'm sharing that is because there's so many people that are putting on false profiles on dating sites now.
Yes.
And so how to, understand how that can happen, you don't really know who you're meeting anymore.
Right.
So anyway, that book I haven't finished writing.
Great title. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear what the subtitle is on that. That's a great title. I love it. So that's something that you're working on right now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope. Well, when that's published, do you want to come back on?
I will.
Okay,
I will. That'll be fun.
Come back on the show, and we'll and we'll have just conversation about that, because I've done shows on narcissists,
wow,
boy,
what a subject.
I have never had so much feedback on any show.
Right.
I did two. I did a follow-up show. I did 2 shows.
That's
and
awesome.
I've never seen such a reaction.
Yeah.
Which tells me that a lot of people have experienced that.
Right. And that is a con artist is a type of a narcissist, or a narcissist is a type of a con artist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that goes.
So, but the main thing is and this is what is that we can turn our the things that happen to us in life that on the surface are like, oh, that's not, that sucks that happened to me.
Right.
Why did that happen to me? Well, you can share that story. Somebody else is going to relate to it. Plus, it also makes a very intriguing read.
It is. It's a really fun. I mean, he was there in my life for me because I have already written that book once, but I looked at it again and I decided to rewrite it in a different way a few years later.
Wow.
So, but he definitely brought the writer out in me.
Thank you, Mr. X. And thank you, Deborah S. Nelson. Thank you so very much. I hope it's a huge hit.
It will be.
I hope it's huge. I hope Oprah has you on talking about it. Folks, my guest this hour has been Deborah S. Nelson. She is the self-publishing goddess.
I love that. Love it.
Really just amazing work that she does. And I'm hoping that she can also help you publish your book, your first book, or your, multiple books that you have within you. And again, it's telling that story. It's so important to get those stories out and to help others in whatever realm you can. And it does make it, like she said, it's a great way to brand yourself. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a book yet, well, you better get one quickly.
Give yourself a raise with that book.
And yeah, exactly. And score an amazing package deal, the do-it-yourself publishing package. It's Out of Box with Christine. It's a special offer only to you wonderful listeners, and it's at DeborahSNelson.com/Christine, and you're saving quite a few bucks on that well.
They are.
And it's a really wonderful package deal. So I'm hoping you can do that. It's the USB drive, cleverly disguised as like a 007 pen with a laser pointer, and the USB drive is in there with all those programs, the books, the workbooks, the textbooks, all that content. And as well, you're getting not one but 2 private sessions, consulting sessions with Deborah S. Nelson via Skype, and it's 3 hours of very important expert time.
Hand-holding, too.
Hand-holding.
Yeah.
I like that.
And encouragement.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us. And we'll make sure we put links to everything that we can on the show.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. Remember that you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and, of course, YouTube. Until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside of the box. Bye for now.